Have you ever watched someone fly? Not in a plane, but with nothing more than for wheels and raw determination. This is the story of a man who redefined gravity, rewrote skateboarding history, and then lost it all. He was on top of the world, endorsement deals, a multi-million-dollar video game franchise, fans everywhere. Then came the crash, a financial free fall that nearly ended it all. But Tony Hawk, he didn't just get back up, he soared higher than ever before. From bankruptcy to billionaire-level business moves, from broken bones to building a legacy, from skate parks to smart homes and supercars, this isn't just a skater's story. This is a story of resilience, reinvention, and redemption. We're going deep into the luxurious side of Tony Hawk, his surprising net worth, a full tour of his custom dream home, his insane car collection, the truth about his private jet, his family, his struggles, and how he gives back. So buckle up, because over the next 15 minutes, we're about to uncover the real Tony Hawk, the rise, the fall, and the comeback that made him more than just a legend, it made him eternal. This is Tony Hawk, the fall, the rise, the empire. Before the fame, before the flips, Tony Hawk was just a skinny, wild kid growing up in sunny Carlsbad, California, born on May 12, 1968. His parents, Nancy and Frank, were typical hard-working middle-class Americans, but Tony, he was not an average kid. He had an IQ of 144. He was hyperactive, intense, the kind of energy that couldn't be tamed. His dad once said Tony wasn't just restless, he was relentless. If something scared him, he had to master it. At just 9 years old, Tony got his first skateboard. And from the very first ride, he was hooked. The moment that board hit the pavement, Tony wasn't just skating, he was flying. By age 12, people at local competitions were whispering, "Who is this kid?" By 14, he had turned pro signing with the legendary Powell Peralta team, joining the Bones Brigade alongside skate royalty. He was small, he was awkward, but what he lacked in size, he made up for with vision. That's when he earned the nickname that would stick forever, the Birdman. From backyards to big leagues, Tony Hawk wasn't just growing up, he was becoming a force that would change skateboarding forever, and this was only the beginning. In the 1980s, skateboarding wasn't cool. It wasn't on TV. It wasn't in the Olympics, to most people. It was just a bunch of rebellious kids with scraped knees and bad attitudes, but then came Tony Hawk, a quiet teenager with a lanky frame and a fearless mindset. At just 14 years old, Tony turned pro. No one had ever seen moves like his before. While others stayed low to the ground, Tony went vertical, literally. He became the face of vert skating, dominating the halfpipe with tricks that seemed like magic. One after another, he racked up win after win, blowing past older, bigger skaters. By age 16, he was already a legend in the making. By 25, he had claimed over 70 contest victories, more than any other skater in history at the time. But even as he was taking the sport to new heights, the rest of the world wasn't exactly watching. Skateboarding was still seen as a punk hobby. Most brands wouldn't touch it. TV networks didn't care. Tony Hawk was a superstar. In a sport no one took seriously, still, he pushed forward. Alongside the Bones Brigade, Tony helped build a brotherhood of talent and innovation. They didn't just skate, they performed. They traveled the world, made skate films, and inspired a whole generation of kids to pick up a board. Tony started pulling in sponsorships, just enough to survive. Skating wasn't making millionaires yet, but for Tony, it was never about the money. It was about the ride, the risk, the revolution. He wasn't just skating anymore, he was making history. But while Tony was rising, skateboarding as a whole was about to face its biggest crash yet. By the early 1990s, the energy was gone. Skateboarding, once rebellious, loud, and full of life, was suddenly dead. Companies pulled out, sponsors dropped riders. TV stopped airing contests, skateparks shut down. And at the center of it all was Tony Hawk, still skating, still dreaming, but now completely broke. He had spent his entire life building a name. And now, it felt like that name didn't matter anymore. The contests dried up, the money stopped coming. His bank account hit rock bottom. He tried to hold on, he tried to adapt. But with a growing family to support and bills piling up, Tony was forced to make a heartbreaking decision. He sold his house, the same home his kids grew up in, gone. And worse than the financial loss was the self-doubt. What if it was all just a phase? What if skateboarding had taken him as far as it could? For the first time in his life, Tony Hawk was questioning his purpose. No crowds, no cameras, no checks, but here's the thing about Tony, he's not wired to stay down for long because just when it looked like everything was over, a video game would come along and change his life forever. Just when things looked over for Tony Hawk, an unexpected phone call would flip everything upside down. It was 1998, and Activision, a game company, had an idea. What if we made a skateboarding video game and put your name on it? Video games had tried skateboarding before and failed, and at that point, his name didn't carry much weight outside the skate world. But something about this game felt different. The mechanics were clean, the tricks felt real, and the soundtrack legendary. In 1999, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater dropped. And everything changed overnight. It became a cultural phenomenon. It brought skateboarding to living rooms around the world. It turned Tony Hawk into a household name. And it made millions of people fall in love with the sport without ever stepping on a board. And while players were grinding virtual rails, Tony was grinding back into the spotlight, only this time with royalties pouring in. The game franchise would go on to sell over $1.4 billion, and Tony, he made tens of millions, not just from one title, but from a whole empire of sequels, remakes, and merchandise. From flat broke to global icon, all thanks to a controller, a console, and one bold licensing deal. It didn't just save his career, it made him immortal. With fame comes spotlights, and with spotlights come shadows. As Tony Hawk's Pro Skater exploded and money poured in, something shifted. To the hardcore skateboarding community, Tony was no longer just a skater, he was becoming a brand. Some called him a sellout, accusing him of watering down the sport they loved to make it mainstream friendly. Purists said he had sanitized skateboarding. Others accused him of turning a rebel culture into a toy for kids. He appeared in cartoons, commercials, cereal boxes. And for a moment, it looked like he was everywhere. Maybe to everywhere. Even some of his business ventures fell flat. A failed TV show idea, skate apparel lines that never took off, investment deals that never made it past launch. But here's what separates Tony from the average celebrity. He owned it. He responded not with ego, but with humility. He never denied the backlash. He acknowledged it. And more importantly, he kept skating. Over time, even the harshest critics started to respect one thing. He never left skateboarding. He never turned his back on it, even when it turned on him. In a world full of sellouts, Tony stayed true. Just not always on everyone else's terms. Behind the spotlight, behind the fame, the flips, and the fortune, Tony Hawk was also just a guy trying to be a dad. He's been married for times, and like many people juggling success and family, his personal life has had its share of turbulence. Today, Tony is happily married to Kathy Goodman, his partner since 2015. She's not just his wife, she's his rock, often by his side at events, skate parks, and red carpets. But long before Kathy, Tony was figuring out fatherhood, one ride at a time. He has 4 children, and he's proud of every one of them. But there's one in particular who followed in his exact footsteps, literally. Meet Riley Hawk, Tony's son and a professional skater in his own right. While Tony ruled the ramps, Riley made his mark on the streets, carving his own path, his own style, and earning his own respect. Their bond isn't just father-son, it's skater to skater. They push each other, support each other, and still ride together. Even with a chaotic schedule, a global career, and millions of fans, Tony's always made time for his kids. Whether it was skateboarding side by side, showing up at school events, or just being a phone call away, Tony Hawk never forgot the one title that matters most: legend on the ramp, hero at home. Welcome to the Hawk Nest, not just a home, a full-on skater's dream come true. Tucked away in Encinitas, just north of San Diego, Tony Hawk's estate is as bold and creative as the man himself. Inside, it's sleek and modern, with open-concept architecture, massive windows for natural light, and a clean, almost industrial style that screams California cool. Everything is wired, from the lighting to the sound system. It's a fully integrated smart home, efficient, responsive, and eco-friendly. But what makes this house truly Hawk level? You guessed it, a full-sized skate ramp built right into the backyard. This isn't for show. This is where Tony actually trains, films, and still pushes himself, even in his 50s, inside. Yep, there's a custom-designed bowl, too. Because when you're Tony Hawk, skating isn't just a sport, it's part of the blueprint. And beyond the walls, pure privacy, surrounded by forested hills, powered by solar energy, Tony's home is built with the future and the planet Owl in mind. The Hawk Nest isn't just where Tony lives. It's where he creates, where he reflects, and where he stays connected to the thing that started it all: skateboarding. Tony Hawk never tried to flex. He's not the guy dripping in diamonds or throwing cash on camera. But when he chooses to indulge, he does it with style and purpose. Let's talk cars. Tesla Model X smooth, electric, and perfect for daily life. Audi R8, a beast on the road, all about speed and precision. Porsche 911 GT3, pure performance, Hawk approved. And his baby, a fully restored classic Ford Mustang, because legends respect legacy. These aren't just vehicles, they're extensions of who he is: focused, fast, and always evolving. And when it comes to travel, Tony doesn't own a jet, but when business calls or time is tight, he charters private. Not because he's showing off, but because sometimes the world's most in-demand skater has places to be. Now this is where his heart really lives. Tony's been collecting rare skateboards for decades. Signed, vintage, hand-painted, one of a kind. And yes, he has custom luxury skateboards made just for him. Think skating meets art, from for wheels to for engines. Tony Hawk's taste is refined, but never loud. He doesn't chase trends, he collects meaning. Fast cars, high flights, priceless boards. For Tony, it's not about showing off, it's about celebrating the journey that got him here. Tony Hawk didn't just flip boards, he flipped the game. He built Birdhouse Skateboards from the ground up, a company that's been a pillar of skate culture for decades. And let's not forget the money maker that changed everything: the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise. That game alone has earned him royalties worth tens of millions. Over the years, Tony has partnered with big brands like Vans, Bagel Bites, and Liquid Death, turning his name into a powerful licensing machine. But he's not just skating on past success. Tony's also investing in the future, dipping into tech startups, NFTs, and media companies, smart moves that keep his empire growing. Today, Tony Hawk's estimated net worth sits around $140 million. From skater kid to billionaire CEO, he's proof that with the right moves, you can turn passion into power. This isn't just a story about tricks, it's about building a legacy that lasts. Tony Hawk didn't just build ramps, he built futures. In 2002, Tony launched the Tony Hawk Foundation, now called the Skatepark Project, a nonprofit dedicated to bringing safe, free skate parks to communities that need them most. Thanks to Tony's vision, over 600 skate parks have been built across the U.S. in underprivileged areas, giving kids a place to dream, play, and grow. He's not just donating money, Tony's out there, speaking to youth, empowering the next generation to chase their passions. Because for Tony, skateboarding isn't just a sport, it's a tool for change. And that's a legacy far bigger than any trick. Tony Hawk is living proof that when you fall hard, you can always rise higher. He's not just a skater, he's a symbol, a legacy on wheels. His influence stretches beyond ramps and rails into culture, extreme sports, and millions of living rooms worldwide. Decades later, he's still pushing himself, still skating strong, in his 50s, proving age is just a number when passion drives you. Skating doesn't owe me anything, I owe everything to skating, and that's the story of Tony Hawk. The man who flew, fell, and soared higher than anyone ever thought possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell because the ride is far from over.